Hello everybody, this is Kirusho here. Now then, whenever we last left off, the fake Deku, he is heading to the base on the truck. While that is happening, let us cut over to a different situation. Mina, Jiro, and Kaminari, they have all eaten. And Ochako is introducing them to everyone else. As she would ask Kirigiri to open a portal to Aldadrin. They need to have a little chat. As that happens, the portal would open and they would all walk through. Kaminari, Jiro, and Mina being reluctant to follow. Until they are basically forced through by Kirishima and Momo. As they're saying that this is quite simple. They would all be looking around as they see hundreds of people. They immediately just go to turn and run as people behind them are somewhat fighting. And they see that they're actually using their claws and their weapons. Wait, these are all infected. They're just like us. As they would immediately turn, asking where are they. Ochako would just look at them and tell them to shut up for now, and they have a little task. As she would walk up to Mr. Heller, or former Sergeant James Heller. Now, she would just ask that she needs a favor. Exactly what is this favor? Well, you see, Midoriya has been kidnapped. Kidnapped? That kid? Seriously? Well, that's the other thing. You know about that already. But what you don't know is the ammunition and things they used. They've developed weapons to take us down. You know this already. You know how dangerous they can be. Now, as she would immediately just speak up saying, does everyone here know exactly what happens when the military decide to use these weapons all the time against us? We're not bulletproof anymore. We don't have a shield. I saw them tear through Deku like he was nothing. Which made quite a bit of people scared. As she would hold up a gun saying that this right here is a little experiment. Do we have any volunteers? As someone would finally say something. You see someone walk up, and this man, doesn't matter what his name is, he would just say that that can't be true. You're lying to us and you just want help on your little crusade to get your little boy toy back. To which Ochako would walk up to him and put the gun to his head, asking if he's really confident in saying that again. To which he would harden his head, saying that he is quite. To which Ochako fires point blank into the man's chin, up into his skull. To which the man does back up by, and he does stand on his feet for a second, saying that that's not anything, as his body would immediately begin to twitch and freak out, as he falls to the ground. People would be watching as... Now, people are just watching as this man, he is unable to control his own body movements. They are rapid and don't make sense, as his face and his body begins to melt into a sludge. To which Ochako finds that these were more effective than she thought. It's a good thing Overhaul stops producing them, or at least hasn't sent these ones yet. So, as everyone's staring at the man then looking back at her, she would just say that that is proof. She knows who supplies these, but she's had a conversation with them. These aren't on the market yet, but they will be soon. So, in order to stop that, they're doing research on Midoriya. And, well, that's it. He's one of the strongest one of us with some of the rarest mutations. If they can find a way to take him down, they can take anyone down. Even, as she would point over to Heller, saying even him. And Elizabeth. So, that is just it. To everyone who wants to fight and stay alive, join me. If we're all separated and trying to kill each other, that's fine. But I'd rather not us go alone. I'd rather not have any of us or any of our kind die on their knees like a dog. So, what do you say? As people would immediately begin to cheer, to which Ochako smiles at, as she turns, asking Kaminari and everyone if they're in. They would just ask if they really have a choice, to which she would just say, sadly, no. Your quirks and mutations are different than anything else, so they're unique. But one thing, watch yourselves, as a portal would open, to which Ochako would walk back through and explain that she will message Heller. Whenever she does, be ready. Now, a couple hours later, the fake Midoriya has arrived at the base, as he's still on top of the truck, unmoving and camouflaged. He would finally arrive as he goes to break the tracker, or at least call someone. As soon as he does open the phone, he finds that whenever he does go to call someone, he calls Ochako, and as soon as he brings it up to his ear and says a single word, there is a shot going off, as the phone in his hand is destroyed. He immediately just jumps up from the truck and tries running away, as that was Ochako's cue. Following the tracker, finding that it's staying in this area, and it has gone off the radar. So, that's perfect. The truck has already been unloaded, and the supplies and shipments are being sent over to Deku and Elizabeth's containment areas. Meanwhile, Ochako, she's turning to Kirigiri asking if he's ready, to which he would just say yes, as a portal would open. Ochako and everyone will walk through, as they are at Aldrin's base. A ginormous portal would open up as everyone begins to run through. Meanwhile, over at this base that Deku is being held at, the fake one is running, as it's gotten a lot darker. All the military personnel who cornered him immediately begin to look up, as the infected are dropping out of the sky. Ochako, she's falling as fast as she can, smashing and actually landing onto a man. As she lands on the man, she would have immediately grabbed the gun away from him and began to fire in every single direction around her. As hundreds of infected are coming into the base, sending it into a full-on panic and frenzy. While that is happening, this is where the fake Deku, he would just say that took a little bit longer than he thought. Well, next time, call a little early. Well, I had to make sure I got in here. Now, while that is happening on the inside of the base, Sir Night-Eye, he is freaking out. Even his predictions could not have thought of an attack this high scale. It could have, but it shouldn't have been possible. That means that they were planning this. Now, as that is happening, Deku, he is opening his eyes once again. As he does so, this is whenever someone would just say that they have contact, or at least the subject is awake. To which Night immediately walks over, gassing and actually trying to destroy Deku. As the liquid that is making contact with Deku that's been flushed out, it's being refilled. Deku, he's just sitting on the ground in his chains as more fluid comes into the container. This fluid, however, it's different. It goes from a weird yellow color to as soon as it makes contact with Deku turning red, which Night-Eye finds weird. As soon as he goes to smash the containment protocol to inject Deku with the experimental liquid, this is whenever the version 5 would immediately come into Deku's system. As Deku, he immediately just looks upwards as his body somewhat convulses, making Night-Eye a bit confused. Night-Eye is thinking that this is... no. God damn it. That bastard betrayed us. To which Deku, he would immediately respond by doing one thing. He's trying to move, but he can't even do so. Finding that he does feel powered, but he's still weak, as he begins to try and smash through the container. He would just keep boiling Deku alive, and trying to increase the heat over and over again. Well, Deku, he's trying to break free his chains. Finding that he gets one hand free, he begins to smash on the glass. While that is happening, on the outside, they are dismantling and taking out the military and quite a few pros. As any pros that they do come across are immediately just mowed down. As Deku, the fake one, and everyone else are blasting through the military. Mina, she begins to try and use her abilities to fight some of the military off, but she finds that anytime she does make contact with one and try and use her acid, it's red now. She throws it into a guy's face, and it immediately begins to be eaten away and killed. The virus, it has mutated her system to basically make what can be best described as snakes. Anytime she throws acid at someone and it makes contact with them, it immediately begins to eat through their body. As soon as it's done, the acid would return to her body and she would get the biomass, finding her abilities boosted. Well, Jiro, she is told that her mutation might be a bit simpler, but it is at least good, as Ochako would point to a wall saying that she needs to bust through there, because Heller and Kirishima are punching at it and it's not working. Jiro would begin by bringing her hands up to her throat and immediately just screaming at the wall, as Heller and Kirishima keep punching over and over again. That is not working, as she would immediately do one thing. As the virus had come all over her body, she brings her hands outwards, turning them into funnels, along with one on her chest and one on her face, as she screams again, boosting it to the point where she actually does have the virus throw things out of her back, holding her into the ground, or at least into place, as she keeps screaming. The metal is beginning to crack as Kirishima and everyone else begin to smash at it. As Kaminari, him and another team do land on the ceiling, or at least the top of the building, being told that this is going to be where he comes in. Exactly what can he do now? As he begins to try and think. He is trying to figure this all out as he does let instinct take over for a second, grabbing onto an electrical grid and immediately ripping the wires out, as his body turns into electricity, at least staticky, or at least very staticky, as he begins to run through the grid. He does so popping out of the control center, where he tells everyone that he's in the base. So this should be easy. As he begins, he would try pressing down into the console, finding that he's just pressing random buttons. Well, he does see that the perimeter's been breached, so they're inside. While that's happening, he feels a pain in his back as he hears a gunshot, turning around watching as there are armed guards and scientists, telling him to step away from the consoles. As soon as he brings his hands up, they would immediately open fire on him, as he would fall to the ground, seemingly dead. As people would begin to walk forward towards him, they would get close enough to where they would be able to feel Kaminari's pulse. It's not there, which is whenever Kaminari would immediately slam his hands down to the ground, shocking everyone, sending a volt and nearly frying everyone in that room, as he walks around consuming them. He would get the knowledge he needs, walk back over to the console, and immediately flip up the override, as he disables certain sections of the building and unlocks everything. Finding that Deku's room is on a separate grid at the lowest level. It's so far below sea level that they're going to need to do something. They need to flush out the water, since it's basically 3 miles underneath the ground. They went all out in order to make sure Deku cannot escape that lab. However, they made one fatal mistake. You fuck with one of us, you fuck with all of us. Now then, while that's happening, this is whenever Ochako, she's running through the base, tearing away and destroying most of the military, as it's already been overrun and deemed unsalvageable. While that's happening, Night Eye is freaking out, thinking the only thing between the infected and them is that water. However, he hears one thing that he really didn't want to. The emergency valves for the water are being released. Because it's the elevator, it's coming down. So the water is being flushed out. Now, as that's happening, Midnight is just asking exactly what her orders are. To which Night-Eye, not being able to keep focus, would just tell her that she needs to stay quiet right now, as she would walk up behind him. He would immediately turn around, seeing her jumping away from her and pulling out a remote, saying that she needs to not do that. You know the consequences, don't you? Really? I know the consequences for being turned by this boy. So, what am I going to do? Die free? Die doing what I want? Or live the rest of... I don't know how long I'll live, with a bomb on my head, waiting for someone to press the goddamn button. While that's happening, they would both turn to see that Deku is still cracking through the glass, and that he is getting a pretty good way through, as he is trying to morph his arm, finding that it's completely covered in the virus. And he just keeps screaming inside the case. Now, while that's happening, the entire system, the shaft, the elevator shaft, it is completely empty now, as they would rip open the doors and begin to fall through, going to the lowest level, as they're gliding down. Now, this is where things are taking a turn. Night-Eye would have the scientists point their guns and anyone that is in that room towards the doorway, saying that they just got a new shipment, so they have to at least hope this will work, as they're all backing away. Now, as they begin to make their way through the facility, Ochako and everyone would come to the bottom floor, smashing into it and breaking open the shaft, as they begin to throw themselves into the hallway, while the military is throwing as much as they can. Even their Project Orion has been failing, so it's considered to be a lost cause. Before they can even try and put in the final procedure to kill Deku, this is whenever the fake Deku would burst through the door and immediately run in, as he would pick up Sir Night-Eye, snapping both of his wrists and slamming him to the ground, as Night-Eye would see his face. Deku would have morphed back his face for 1 second and then morph it back into the armor, just to show Night-Eye that he fucked up. To which Night-Eye he's confused by. He freaks out as he looks upwards, seeing Deku smashing through the case with his other arm, or at least trying to pull it free. Now, as soon as that happens, this is where Ochako and everyone would run in, as they begin to kill and take out the military, as Midnight would just take a seat, watching all this happen. A man would run over trying to pick up the control, as Midnight would lash her arm outwards and pull it back toward her, holding it in between her fingers and just giving a smirk to the man, as he would have been ripped apart. Now, with that happening, this is where the fake Deku would immediately begin consuming the other scientist, along with Ochako taking on Sir Night-Eye. Now, they would unlock the case as they would see Deku smashing and actually just taking his way out, as he falls to the ground on his legs, or at least what's left of them. All the wires and everything put into him, it's bad. Deku would take off the face mask as he takes a deep breath, finding that he's still connected to all the wires. As that happens, he tries to move his arm, but he can't. Whatever has been happening, they've connected so much into him that he basically has to rip himself apart from these. To which Ochako would run up to him and immediately grab onto him, asking him if he's okay. To which Deku doesn't respond. She would lift his face to see him as she sees his eyes are completely red, asking him if he's okay. To which he would hold out his arms and immediately hug her, saying that he's just glad she got away. He's sorry. I've been gone for too long, haven't I? How long has it been? It's been too long, dummy. As they would try and help Deku up. As people watch Deku do one thing, bringing his arms behind his back and pulling the tube out of the back of his neck. As he does so, they would watch as a 2-inch long spike follows, as he would begin ripping everything out of his body. They would watch him do this as he does one simple thing, walking over to Midnight, asking her exactly one question. Where is the other subject? Oh, well, I'm surprised you're not a little bit madder at me. Why? You don't know, do you? Well, this'll be interesting to see. At least, do me a little favor. What is that? This right here is the reason I've been stuck here. Do you know someone who can help me get it out of my head? Depends. Are you gonna help us or not? Well, I can. As she would get up from her chair and walk around with them. As Deku, he's basically being held by the fake version of him in the costume, or the mask, and Ochako walking through the facility. Deku, he would come to a body as he would immediately just hold his leg outwards and let himself consume the biomass, as people would watch him continue to heal. The amount of scars and tissue in his body that's been missing, it is far too much. He's going to be bedridden for a while, until his powers come back to him completely. Now, Deku, he would just watch as the door opens, and his face goes from complete and utter tiredness and being weary to fully awake and completely surprised, as he watches his mother in a tube. As people are just staring at this, Deku would have broken away from the fake and Ochako, running in and looking at the control panel, finding a way to break open the tube. Before he can even bring his hand downwards, this is whenever Heller would just grab him by the wrist, telling him he really doesn't need to do that. Why? That's my mother. Really? Well then, this says otherwise, as he would just hold out an entire pamphlet, saying that someone consumed a scientist here. In fact, some of them all did. You're not gonna believe this. Your mother is Elizabeth fucking Green. As Deku, he's completely in shock. He would just snatch the research from him and ask him where's the proof, as he goes to flip through all of it. He just wouldn't believe this, as he would ask if there's a scientist left. Well, figures. Here. As he would just move, saying that these men made sure to save one for you. Under my orders, of course. As Deku would walk toward the scientist being completely in fear, as Deku looks at him, bringing his hand to his throat and lifting him off the ground, asking him exactly, what is this? Your mother, I didn't ask. I remember your face. Of course I do. Now I know. You're the one who wanted to slice my head open and see exactly what makes me tick, aren't you? You remember this? You could hear us the whole time, couldn't you? Of course I could. That glass was thick, but it wasn't soundproof. You wanted to see if you can turn whatever... You wanted to see if I can turn whatever we are against us? then you would have had no choice. Now, explain to me this. As Deku would just throw him against the wall and stab into his gut, maintaining eye contact, saying that he will see for himself. As he starts consuming the man shrinking until he's nothing but a pile of bone or just skin in his hand, as he just throws it away, saying that proves as he would immediately just stop moving, and his eyes would suddenly glaze over for a second. He looks through every single piece of information this man knows, as he would fall to the ground coughing, as he'd get mad, immediately smashing down, saying that cannot be true. It's impossible. As he walks back over to the glass, looking at it, he would just knock on it as Inko, she somewhat opens her eyes and turns her head, as she immediately sees Deku. She just holds out her hand, or at least tries to bring it up, as she can't do so. At least being able to turn it and put it up to her side, to where the glass is. To where Deku, he holds out his own hand, asking her if it's really true. To which she has a surprised look on her face. As he would say that she's been here as long as I have. As long as none of that liquid is in contact with her, then we should at least be able to hold her down if we need to. Besides, we do outnumber her here. To which Elizabeth is outside the facility. She has no knowledge of what the other Inko is doing, or even who is there. She does know, however, that Deku is being held there, so she wanted to see exactly how good they could do. Now, this is where Deku, he would walk over and immediately smash down the console for it to open up, as the liquid would begin draining and the restraints would be released, as Inko would fall out and hit the ground. As she pulls off the mask, taking a deep breath and immediately coughing up quite a bit of blood. As Deku would walk over, he would bring her into a hug and ask her if it's really true. To which she's a bit more confused, asking him what is he talking about. To which Deku would ask one simple question. Are you really Elizabeth Green? Or are you my mother? What? Answer me. As Deku would raise his voice. Am I your missing child? To which Inko doesn't know how to respond. She would go to open her mouth, but she just closes it, not knowing what to do. Now, that is going to be where we leave things off of, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I will catch you guys in the next part.